Howdy, folks. I don't usually do videos in the middle of the week, but we had an item on the agenda today that I thought I should probably talk about. There's been a lot of interest from folks on it. That was the proposed ICE proclamation, and had some progress on one of my projects. So thought I'd do a quick video and type something out in a bit here. Around the ICE proclamation, that was proposed. Commissioner Taylor brought it back again, and it didn't get a second. So that means it didn't get discussion. It just died on the table, went nowhere. Some things came up in the comments, and just want to go back over some stuff and clarify some other stuff. So right now, Oregon law established in 1987 and changed a little over time, but it indicates that law enforcement does not collaborate with ICE. Now, the sheriff's office can provide information if it's accessible to the public. So basically, can't tell ICE anything they couldn't have figured out on their own. And unless they get their detainer warrants signed by a judge, they're not honored. They do administrative warrants, and an administrative warrant comes from within ICE itself. And what that means is that there's a federal agent, and they're the only one that does this, by the way, but it means a federal agency wants the ability to detain people without any judicial oversight, is what that means in a nutshell. They don't want to have to go through the due process to demonstrate there's a valid reason to detain the person. They want to use their own administrative warrant, skip over any kind of judges, and just detain people without any cause demonstrated outside of themselves. So, no, they don't want accountability, is my takeaway from that. The point was made when I brought this up that, well, maybe the politics of the state or why ICE doesn't want to get their warrant signed by a judge. It would be too hard. That isn't how federal law enforcement works. ICE is a federal agency. They would get their warrants signed by a federal judge. The politics of Oregon have nothing to do with whether or not they get their warrant signed by a judge. And those judges come in on the federal side. So the federal government has the ability to make changes if that's what they want to see. By that, when I look at the situation, I see something that nobody really likes, but I'm not sure it's being observed fully. And that's the federal government having a burden, and they want to push that downhill. So, for whatever reason, ICE isn't getting its warrants signed by federal judges. They are a federal agency, and now they want to blame the state of Oregon for not helping them do a thing they should be doing within their own branch of government or within their own level of government. And it should also be noted the I think it was a 2014 case? Yeah, 2014 case here that was determined by Magistrate Judge Janice Stewart, who is a federal judge, that honoring the detainer without the judge's signature violated an individual's 14th Amendment right. Now, important note here that came up, there was a lawyer present at our meeting today who added that it was Clackamas County that got sued. Clackamas County asked ICE for support because they were honoring their warrant. ICE didn't provide it. So not only do you have a federal agency that wants to push the responsibility downhill and not be accountable, they also don't want to back up people who do honor their orders that aren't signed by judges. So even if you do what they want, they're not going to be there for you if you get sued. They'll just ditch you. So why would we help people that do that? Why would we help ICE if they're just going to abandon us if we get sued? It's already well demonstrated at that point that the federal government won't be there for us. And they should be doing their own job anyway. Now, background here. The bill that brought this into being in 1987, that was a bipartisan bill. You'll hear some folks say that it's all about party politics, that it was some kind of woke agenda that brought this law into being. No. It was 1987. There were 31 Democrats and 29 Republicans in the House, and it passed with one Democrat was absent, one Republican voted no. So it passed with 30 Democrats and 28 Republicans. It was completely bipartisan, and the reason was that our officers aren't trained in the job that ICE does, so we didn't want, as a state, to incur the liability from trying to do what ICE does. At this time frame, it was INS, and that basically panned out again in 2014. We tried to do something that's ICE's responsibility. Clackamas got sued. ICE ditched them and just left them to be responsible for having followed ICE's orders. So no, it's not a passable thing to me. Yeah, I suppose that's all of that. I've brought up something I've been working on, trying to gain traction around the ballot initiative to require the state to return 5% of income tax back to counties. I got a hold of the League of Oregon Cities today. I left a message so that I can talk to them, because it is also going to include, it's going to need to include cities in the conversation and to get an outcome. Yesterday, I sent out blanket email, blind carbon copy, so we didn't violate public meeting law, but I sent it out to all of the commissioners, not within Coos, but within the rest of the state, looking for who wants to be a part of this thing, who wants to support it. This is what it is. This is what it will do. Let's work together. By this morning, when our commissioners meeting started, I had 7 counties that had responded. Again, party doesn't matter. It's 4 red and 3 blue. One of them being Lane County, which was pretty nice, that all want some part in this, or they're outright supportive already. And by the end of our commissioners meeting this morning, I had 9. So folks, and I got more throughout the day. So there's only 36 counties in Oregon. People are stacking up real fast. So there's concerns around it, obviously. It's a conversation starter at 5%. There's concerns, what if the state doesn't fill other grants if this money starts going to counties? So this conversation is going to evolve. I didn't include cities initially either, but we're going to need to include cities because they're facing some of the same problems. They just have different services, and the county overlaps with them in areas. So we'll have to figure out some kind of equitable percentage there. But the other thought now moving forward from that is, well, if the state didn't want to fund these things that need to be funded, what if the percentage was just high enough that we don't have to have 15, 20, in the case of Coos County, we've got over 80 funding streams. What if we, from the state side, just really simplified this? You give a portion, set percentage of income tax back to the counties of origin, and then we don't have to run through all these different things. The money will be there. And then the state doesn't have to spend so much on their processing side, because now we've got 80 some plus funding streams. They've got to have thousands at that point of numbers that they're just running through, dealing with all the counties, all the cities, everything. And if we move it to this other platform, maybe it all just simplifies and the state can operate more efficiently and we can operate more efficiently because we don't have all the baggage of it, and we just simplify these numbers down a bit. So that's kind of where that is going. I don't know that that's where it's going to go, but it's picked up steam. So we've got some progress going. And that'll be where I drop it off there. I see people joining right now. I feel bad. I'm about to turn off the thing, so you're going to have to restart at the start. But just a quick update. Yeah, good.